Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me today. It's Allan Laboucan with the Rocks and Stocks News Show. I've got one of my in the news segments for you today, and right out of the gate, I want to talk about newfound gold. Newfound gold confirms high-grade gold mineralization over broad widths from the Keats Zone initial grade control drilling. Queensway Gold Project, 219 grams per ton of gold over 9.35 meters, starting at 19 meters below surface, and 160 grams of gold over 10.3 meters from 15.8 meters below surface. Uh, Really spectacular numbers, and especially because it's so close to surface and it's one of the open pits that they're going to start mining from. So that's some really juicy numbers that they'll get into there, and that was from their grade control drilling. Um, this is the initial results from the grade control drilling at the Keats Zone excavation in the Appleton Fault Zone core, which was completed as part of the company's 2025 drill program on their 100% owned Queensway project. And as you can see, I mean, any one of these would be fantastic. I mean, look at 219 grams, 9.35 meters, 160 grams, 105 grams over 10 meters. This 160 grammer was over 5.1 meter, 24 grams over 26.25 meters from 34 meters below the surface, 35.3 grams over 12.85 meters from 36.25 meters below surface, 26 grams or 27 grams over 12, 142 over 2. I mean, it just goes on and on. Look at this one, 50.8 grams per ton of gold over 4.1 meters starting at the surface, a 9.29 grammer over 15 meters from 1.1 meters below the surface. Melissa Render, who's the president and of Newfound, stated, and I quote, "We are excited to share these first results from grade control drilling at the Keats excavation, which continue to define the high grade tenor of the near surface portion of this zone. These results provide detailed data to further validate our resource models, specifically with respect to grade top cutting and influence limiting of high grade intersection in advance of MRE update and further mine planning. We look forward to updating the market with further results from grade control drilling at both Keats and Iceberg." End quote. So here is that was Keats. Where did they get that from? Keats excavation and the AFZ's core. So here is Keats down here. And as you can see, it's loaded up with a lot of very high grade gold throughout this pit design. And now they're getting some great results in their grade control drilling. So, as you can see, that's where a bunch of these results come from and all in. And I think it expands some of this richest core portion of the deposit and really good looking numbers out of that. And here's where it came from. So they've stripped away this area here, and this is where they're going to be excavating to for the mining of the deposit. And as you can see, there's a lot of really great outcrops in that of the, or I guess it's not an outcrop, they had to excavate down to it, but you can see the veins in the system. Um, There's the grades, just really awesome stuff. Lots of high grade. Look at some of these super high grades that are in there, over 400 grams of gold. Okay, so and also, I think they did some. Just give me a second here. I'm zooming up here to. No, that's what I wanted to talk about there. And so then. This one's been a great performer since I made him official pick about 6 months ago. I think they were trading a little under about, I think it was about here. They've gone through a golden cross um, and had a big move today. They were up 19.94%, or 66 cents a share to $3.97. So really great response to that news. And when you hit that much high grade, especially in something that you're moving towards production, is quite exciting because, they would be able to get to that material very quickly. And yeah, that's some great news from one of the picks in the reports. Um, and I'm going to talk about two companies, and then I'm going to talk about them sorted together. Okay, so earlier today, there was news out of Pirate Gold. They were formerly known as Sokoman Minerals, so you've all heard about me talk about Sokoman, but they changed their name to Pirate Gold. They announced commencement of trading under their new symbol YARR, YAR, to go with that Pirate Gold theme. And there's no actions that are needed by the shareholders. Denny Laviolette, he stated, and I quote, "Today we set sail as Pirate Gold. Our team is focused on driving value at the Treasure Island project, and the new name reflects a shift toward tighter execution, sharper targets, and a disciplined approach to building value. We have a full runway ahead and new tools coming online. Investors know the real upside comes from the hunt, and we're charting our new course with purpose. This is where the story starts to get exciting." So it's actually been getting pretty exciting since Denny Laviolette got involved with the company. Denny Laviolette is a very talented geologist. In fact, he was instrumental in the success of Newfound Gold. And they changed management and earlier this year with the goal of bringing in a team of mine builders. Okay. Denny's a real exploration guy, so he left the board. And really, Denny is such a talented guy that he could basically, set his put his hat down or take the position in a lot of different places, but he chose to take over with Little Sokoman Minerals, now Pirate Gold. And this was the announcement that on September 29th that that Denny Laviolette took over as the new CEO. So since then, they added other people to the team. Greg Matheson is a key one. He was also one of the key geologists that led to the success at Newfound Gold in the exploration of that project, and now it's advancing to become a new mine. Then they announced a $24 million bought deal financing led by Eric Sprott. Then they tripled their land holdings to 65 kilometers of the Valentine Lake Fault. When I talk about Newfound Gold and Pirate Gold in a moment, it's in the context that I think that and I've written about this and talked about this in the past, that Newfoundland has the potential of becoming the Abitibi 2.0. And I'll get into that in a little while, but this Valentine Lake fault is a big portion of that part of the story. They provided an update on Stony Lake and Keats properties, so they added more ground. Let me just pull that up actually. I want to see what the map. No. Okay, actually, I got a better map for that one. Let me go back here. So then they 26 million dollars. They ended up upsizing it to 26 million. That was closed. They announced the name change, and now that's happened. And so Pirate Gold is now trading on the venture exchange under the symbol YARR. YAR. I love the new branding. I think branding is really important. And Pirate Gold, I'm hoping they find treasure chests full of gold. I'm gonna, for in the spirit of their new Pirate Gold, there's something I call jewelry boxes in orogenic gold systems, and I'm gonna have to change it to treasure chests full of instead of using my old name of jewelry boxes. So, okay, so now I'm going to go to this news release, or no, sorry, I'm getting my news releases mixed up here. Hold on a second. It's this one that I want. Okay, so Moosehead, I'm going to show you this Appleton or this Valentine Lake fault. Okay, it starts way up here. Here, the red is all of uh, pirate gold. I have to get used to calling it pirate gold now. That fault goes all the way through, and I think that they're covering about 70 kilometers of that. And down here, it continues. And down here is the great new Valentine Lake mine that is being put in or is going into, it's in production now. It's being ramped up to full commercial production by Equinox, which is another of my picks that has done extremely well. And I think as they bring the Valentine Lake mine into full commercial production, it will be another great story for Equinox and for Newfoundland and this concept that I have, which I think that it could be the Abitibi 2.0 story. And so down the Valentine Lake fault is very important. So let me switch now to talking about why I think that we could be looking at the emergence of the next Abitibi, if you will. So first, I'm going to bring up this paper, and it's called Orogenic Gold Comparison of Structurally Controlled Gold Systems of the Abitibi Greenstone Belt and Central Newfoundland Appalachians, Implications for Newfoundland Gold Potential and Concurrent Tectonic Drivers of Gold Mineralization. I love the way these scientists they name their papers. This is a paper by Hansberger and Bleecker. And I would advise you to read it. And you don't have to be a geoscience scientist to understand all this. There's a lot of technical terms in it, but sometimes you can find some real nuggets of wisdom in there. And here is the nugget of wisdom in that paper that I really love to bring up. Here is and they've moved, the Abitibi goes basically east-west. So they put it into the same strike, if you will, as Newfoundland and at the same scale. Okay. So here's Abitibi, and here's all the great mines along the Abitibi. Now, to put this into context, about 200 million ounces has been produced from this district. It's been in production for over 100 years. Just a phenomenal, one of the great gold mining camps anywhere in the world. And it goes from Quebec all the way over to Ontario. And along there, you've got two main structures, if you will, or these are big cracks in the earth that the metals bearing fluids follow up towards the surface and create these phenomenal mines. And one of them is called the Cadillac Larder or Larder Lake Cadillac Break, and the other is the Destor Porcupine. And those two, this is the Destor Porcupine up here, and here is the Cadillac Larder or Larder Lake Cadillac Break. And so these are big, they're structural cracks in the earth. They go down very, very deep. And that's needed in these kind of deposits because in a general sense, they can form very deep where you get the right temperature and the right pressure to form these and create the geological event that brings the gold following up these structures. And so you need these deep cracks in the earth. And that's what's happened at the Abitibi. And again, I would highlight all of these yellow dots as where there's serious deposits or big mines. Okay. Now, over here is the Newfoundland. All right. And as you can see, there are a series of these deep crustal cracks in the earth. Now, another thing that's interesting is a lot, you notice how this one and this one, they kind of run parallel. And you're seeing a similar thing happening over here in Newfoundland. Now, up here is where Newfound Gold is having all of their success. And then over here is the Valentine Lake fault. And down here is where the Valentine Lake mine is located. All right. And so you follow it up here, and up here is where Sokoman has a big part of that feature. So, another thing that makes Newfound Gold and Sokoman so exciting is that if you believe like me that Newfoundland has the potential to be Abitibi 2.0, it's almost like you're rolling the clock back 100 years or so and think of if you could have like 70, 80 kilometers of either one of the Destor Porcupine or the Cadillac Larder break. And that's exactly what Newfound Gold has on this side. And then over here is where, down here is where the Valentine Lake mine is. And then uh, uh, Pirate Gold has, I got to get that right, Pirate Gold has along here. Now, another interesting aspect of this is that in here is what's called the Mount Peyton Pluton. And this is a big intrusive event that may also be important in these deposits because a lot of the deposits are on the newfound gold side are very close to that Pluton. And then over here, Pirate Gold has their Treasure Island project. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is if you were going to look for the next Abitibi 2.0 and look for companies that have big portions of the key structures, it's either newfound gold on one side of that Pluton or um, uh, uh, pirate gold on the other side. And so I'm really excited about this, as you can tell. Now, I'm going to go to this one because now I'm starting to. Over here is that Pluton. Over here is where newfound gold is. And then here is that Valentine Lake feature. And so, as you can see, Pirate Gold owns a lot of that key structure. And of course, another important part is finding mineralization along that. And so Moosehead is where Sokoman had drilled a bunch of holes, found a lot of very high grade gold, high grade to bonanza grades of gold. And now Denny and Greg Matheson will roll up their sleeves and try to understand more about Moosehead. But then there is also other very great showings along here and other geological events in the Crippleback zone that are very important and actually almost identical to what is down here at the Valentine Lake mine, where there's about 5 million ounces and growing, is down here. So, very fertile fault for high grade orogenic gold systems, as is the whole island of Newfoundland, and especially in these areas where newfound gold and pirate gold are focused. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to Amex Exploration. Uh, and Amex more than doubles their land position to control 500 square kilometers in the Abitibi region. All right. They become one of the largest landholders in the Abitibi region. They hold 70 kilometers along strike of the Normatel Burnt Bush Greenstone Belt. All right. So they announced they'd entered into an asset purchase agreement with an arm's length vendor to acquire two projects immediately adjacent to the existing Amex land package, individually named Abbotsford Project and Hepburn Project. In addition to these acquisitions, the company has acquired through claim staking the continuation of these greenstone belts and now controls approximately 70 kilometers of strike length of the prolific Abitibi Greenstone Belt, well combined with existing land holdings of Perron and Perron West. So they talk about the details of the acquisition and the claim staking. Victor Cantori, who's the president and CEO of Amex, commented, and I quote, based on our extensive exploration of the Perron project property, we see the Normatel Burnt Bush Greenstone Belt, which adjoins the Casa Berardi Deformation Zone to the northwest, as being extremely prospective for future gold and VMS discoveries. With these acquisitions, we have constructed a truly district scale land package, which is controlled by one company rarely seen in the Abitibi region. The Normatel Burnt Bush Greenstone Belt remains heavily underexplored for gold, while holding several historical showings that, that never had substantial follow up work. It is also exciting to know to now hold land adjoining the Casa Berardi break, which also contains important fertile structures that warrant further work. End quote. The Amex land position package now neighbors Agnico Eagle's Abitibi properties along the Casa Berardi break in Ontario. So Casa Berardi is a great mine. And so, okay, so here is Perron. This is their fantastic project. This is how it started out when I started covering uh, Amex, and until recently, this was what it was all about. These yellow dots here represent the deposits that they have and gold occurrences, and also where their resource is of about 2.5 million ounces. And they've also have in here the Champagne zone, which is a fantastic zone. It has about 850,000 ounces in the indicated, and that has an average grade of 16.2 grams per ton of gold. So very rich Champagne zone. And then also included in that at depth is inferred resource of about another couple hundred or 150,000 ounces or so. Needs more drilling, but that average grade in the inferred is 10, around 10 grams. So it's a very high grade zone that they're now moving it towards. First, they'll start by doing a bulk sample, and then they're going to be doing a preliminary economic assessment on toll milling that Champagne zone. And the idea is that the toll milling will help them to be able to fund a mill on their own project and then get to the other deposits because they have about five or six deposits in total so far on the Perron project. So then they went out and did a deal to get the Port Perron West. So these greenstone belts are very important because they have the age that are important in these orogenic gold systems. Okay, and so they had acquired the Perron West through that acquisition, and that basically grabbed all of the greenstone belt that was important up in there. Now they announced this Abbotsford acquisition and Hepburn over in here. So now they're going into this greenstone belt as well, and then they staked up this and this. And what's this? And this is the Agnico Eagles Casa Berardi mine. So now they basically have the whole entire greenstone belt from Casa Berardi all the way over to Perron. All of this is fantastic place to be looking for gold. As and one thing feature that I really like is where this bends. This is an interesting place, and as I mentioned, Abitibi or Agnico Eagle is up in here. So this is a great piece of news for the company, and I'm just going to pull up their stock here. By the way, this company is a sponsor of my report, so I want to mention that. They were down 0.28% or a penny today, but I think as more people learn about what they're doing at Champagne and at their other zones on Perron, and now all of this land that they've acquired, it's becoming a very compelling story very rapidly. As you can see, back in April, stock was trading at under $1, had a golden cross, spent almost the entire time only a little bit under the 50-day moving average. And that 50-day moving average is going up at a very good bullish trajectory, as is the 200-day. So a lot of great things happening with Amex. And I always thank them for being a sponsor because it's sponsors like them that make it possible for me to do the work I do and provide that for no charge to my audience. Okay, so the next company up is Kirkland Lake Discoveries. Kirkland Lake Discoveries begins a this was on November the 25th last week. Sorry, I didn't get a chance to talk about the news during my weekend show because it became a very long show. But Kirkland Lake Discoveries begins a fully funded 25,000-meter drill program and appoints a VP Exploration and Technical Advisor. So the highlights are the fully funded 25,000-meter drill program begins with the first rig turning at the high priority Winnie Lake Stock contact corridor. Second rig planned for January of 2026. Two coexisting mineralizing systems confirmed: a copper-rich massive sulfide system and an intrusion-related gold system, significantly enhancing discovery potential. Now, both of these are really important. For one, the copper-rich massive sulfide, that's at the contact of a big intrusion. And not only is the contact around it, which is 17 kilometers, really important, but they've also drilled inside of that and hit an intrusion related gold system. So not only is the intrusion important and the contact of the intrusion, but inside the intrusion as well. They expanded their technical team by adding the vice president of exploration, Ben Cleland, and a technical advisor, Dr. Jean-Francois Montreuil, I think is how you say it. Sorry, my French is not that good. They're doing an AGM. And Stefan Sklepowicz, who is the CEO of Kirkland Lake Discovery, stated, and I quote, "The start of this 25,000-meter drill program marks a transformational moment for Kirkland Lake Discoveries. Over the past 2 years, our team has built an understanding of the geology around the Winnie Lake stock, and the confirmation of two coexisting mineralizing systems has elevated the scale of what is possible here. With a strengthened technical team and a fully funded program, we are now positioned to drill with both confidence and purpose. Every hole we put into the ground is designed to advance our understanding of systems that we believe have the potential to deliver meaningful new discoveries for our shareholders and for the Kirkland Lake region." End quote. So I'm going to get down to here. And now they talk about two coexisting situations, geological events, if you will, but there's actually four on this project. Over here is an area that I love for its orogenic gold potential. And also there's VMS have been found on this. So you've got actually four mineralizing events in on one project. And that is really important because sometimes these deposits have secondary mineralization, and you can get one style and then it's overprinted with another. And this juices up those systems to create some great deposits. Now, in here, these are a few of their key target areas that they talk about. One is the 9 mile. Okay, first of all, let's go into this big intrusion. So this 17-kilometer intrusion here is very interesting. And especially at the contacts of those intrusions, or of that intrusion with the country rock beside it. For example, down here in the Winnie West and Winnie Lake shaft is at the contact of the intrusion and the country rock, and that's where they found very high grade copper in their drilling. Now, another important feature is right here. And there's hopefully, I don't know if they have it. They actually have some detailed geophysics. Sorry, it's not on this one, but you'll have to trust me because I've looked at it very closely and I'll tell you where it is. So right in here is there's a mag high and a mag low, and it goes east to west. Okay. There's also a structure inside the intrusion that has me very intrigued that is basically very close to where they hit gold mineralization in their early drilling that they recently announced. And so you've got kind of the potential for an east-west feature that you can see in the mag and a structural feature coming through here. And then you've got this north-south one as well. And then over here, you've got hits in the surface sampling. But I wanted to talk about this structure as well because there is another big structure coming right through the middle of the intrusion. If we start to see that these structures are also important inside the intrusion, well, that opens up the whole basic center of that intrusion. So now you would have intrusion related gold systems inside the intrusion, the high grade intrusion related at the contact all along in here. They're going to be, this is another key target area because there's a lot of beautiful geophysical anomalies here. So it's a really great project. And and it's just part of this purple or pink uh, represents the intrusion, but over here is like orogenic gold 101 exploration potential over here. There's a great mine of Agnico Eagles right here called Macassa. They've got another one over here called Upper Beaver. This they is wide open. All of this is wide open. You've got key structures cutting all through here. Just a great project. I think it's 40 square kilometers or something like that. That is the total. So Kirkland Lake, I think they're going to have a lot of great results to talk about. And before I get into, then there's another company I want to talk about. Where is it? Sterling Metals. So Sterling Metals announces the closing of a private placement to accelerate the advancement of the Sioux Copper project. They announced that they closed off the charity flow through part of it was priced at $2.30. They raised 14 million. Matthew Wilson, who's the CEO and director of Sterling, commented, and I quote, "On behalf of Sterling, I'd like to thank all participants for their support in this financing. The quality of new shareholders who have joined our register is a testament to both the quality of the project and the team charged with advancing it. With approximately 15 million in the treasury, we are in a strong position to rapidly advance the Sioux Copper project. The 6.2 million raised through charity flow through represents the minimum we anticipate spending on the project next year, the majority of which will be directed toward drilling. We continue to benefit from first-in-class cost advantages due to exceptional access and infrastructure, which has allowed us to rapidly advance this project. This year's summer fall program, which was significantly expanded following the discovery, included 29 holes totaling approximately 11,000 meters, which brings our total drilling for the year to over 13,000 meters. All holes are currently in the lab or being prepped, and we expect to begin receiving and releasing assays in the coming weeks. We anticipate a short break in drilling until early February while we incorporate the incoming data and develop a winter program. We are eager to see the results of the program and begin piercing together what we believe is one of the most significant new copper discoveries in Canada. End quote. And what excites me about that is that this is very high grade copper. I'm a junkie for high grade projects, and they have a very high grade copper discovery. In fact, when they um, when they announced the results of their discovery holes, uh, uh, Sterling. Hold on a second. Let me get their stock chart up here. Sterling Metals. Why aren't you participant? Ah, there it is. Okay, Sterling Metals. This action here from about 40 cents to over $3 was because of the great discovery that they made. And when they announced that the stock went ballistic. Now, I also find it very important that since then it has not given back a lot of its gains. And while they were doing the financing, it's created a cup and handle. And now I think it's ready to go up the right side of the cup. As you can see, it went through a golden cross back here and then blasted above the 50-day moving average, which has the 50-day moving average on a very bullish trajectory, as is the 200-day moving average. This company doesn't have very much stock out. I think the total is about 50 or 60 million shares. You'll have, don't quote me on that. I might be actually overstating how much stock is out, very tightly held. And so it's got the potential for big moves. And they got a bunch more assays pending and a really great discovery. And you want to take a look at Sterling. Now, as I was getting ready to do this show, and I realized that I was talking about newfound gold, pirate gold, Amex Exploration, Kirkland Lake Discoveries, and Sterling. It made me think of Earthlabs. Recently, I did an interview with Denny Laviolette from Earthlabs, and you can find that video on my YouTube channel at Rocks and Stocks News or here on my Substack at rocksandstocks.substack.com. And so why I'm bringing up Earth Labs now is Earth Labs owns significant positions in all of these companies that I just talked about. And that's what is very compelling to me about Earth Labs is that they're like a venture capital company, and they also have digital marketing assets. In fact, Denny and I talked about both of those parts of the business in our interview that I encourage you to take a look at. And But the real driver is the venture capital side of the business. The digital marketing is kind of the meat and potatoes that will look after the costs of staff and having a publicly traded company. But the real driver of their valuation is their venture capital business. And it took them a couple of years to build the asset base up. And while doing that, the junior part of the mining business really didn't get a lot of enthusiasm until this past summer. And the majors had started to move really, really well. The mid tiers, some of the junior miners, but the developers and the junior explorers really didn't. And that's the junior explorers where the bulk of Earthlabs is positioning themselves in the earth and also into the developers, such as Newfound and Amex that I talked about already. And so it took them a time to build up their asset base. And then for this summer was a very, as when I say that the juniors really entered the gold bull market. All right. In fact, gold and silver were kind of going sideways during the summer until late in August when they blasted off. Um, but during the summer, the juniors were coming to life in a big way, and a bunch of them started to get serious financing. Now, usually during the summer months, the financing slowed down, the volume slows down, a trading volume, the prices soften up in the juniors. But this year was absolutely the opposite. Stocks were going up, financings were getting done, volume was very high. And so that was very positive for the portfolio that Earth Labs has put together. And you can get a sense of how positive that was from their third quarter report, which was put out, I think, about 2 weeks ago. And in that, they talked about their portfolio had a 2,300% uh, improvement over the previous same quarter of the year before in 24. Then they made about $1 million off of their portfolio went up by about 1 million, and now it went up about 2,300% in the third quarter of 2025. And that's because their positioning and now a more enthusiasm towards the juniors is really starting to pay off. And it was quite a good performance. I was happy to bring them on as a pick not too long ago, and they have were a very good performer today. In fact, they were up 25% or 7 cents a share to 34 cents. And I think a lot of this is because the shareholders know that they own shares in Newfound Gold, which was parabolic. They also own a royalty on Newfound Gold's project in Newfoundland. And so some of their stocks did very well, and people are starting to really pay attention to Earth Labs in a more significant way. I really think when I present this company, I talk about it in the sense of I think you're buying $1 worth of value for like 35 or 40 cents uh, for that dollar's worth of value. Now, that on its own would be a very good situation because, you could potentially be looking at a triple in 2026 with what I see coming ahead. But the reason I'm most excited is I believe that proverbial dollar can grow to two, three, four, and beyond dollars. And so these are reasons why I am so bullish on Earth Labs and why it applies to the companies I talked about earlier. Because again, they are key shareholders and significant shareholders of all of the companies I've talked about so far. All right. So that's their story. Now, I've got a couple more to talk about here. Canadian Gold Corp, they announced the Tartan Mine West Flank step out drilling continues to deliver 12.3 grams per ton of gold over 14 meters, 8.2 grams per ton of gold over 9.9 meters, 10.7 grams per ton of gold over 4.5 meters. They do note that Canadian Gold Corp is currently in the process of being acquired by McEwen Inc., with closing expected in early 2026. This is turning out to be a very good pick for me. And I just wanted to talk. I love seeing high grade, so I wanted to talk about it today. In the not too distant future, there won't be a Canadian Gold Corp. It will be part of McEwen Inc., which is another of my picks that my audience knows I'm very bullish on as well. I think, oh yeah, here. Okay. So there was past production on this project. Let's do that first. Okay, so here is the past production in gray, and it went down to here. Now, this was being done when gold was a lot lower price than it is today. And outside of that, there is still potential, but below it is where there's still a whole bunch of high grade that extends well beyond the 575 meters that was contained of the 2017 resource. As you can see, lots of high grade gold. And I think that this is another really important orogenic gold system. They tend to be more like you'll have zones of very high grade, but it's very rare to have such high grade continuity that continues has great continuity all the way down to 1,000 meters and beyond. And that makes for a great project that I think McEwen Inc. will come in and do a great job with. So going back to this map, this represents from a top-down view all of the underground workings that go down to about 250 meters, and it outlines the main zone. But in the last 6, or let's say 9 months to 12 months, this south zone has become very important as well. And from those results that I spoke about already. And, that represents two zones associated with this structure here, and the rest of the project is wide open for exploration, and they own a bunch of ground going way over there. I think this is going to be a fantastic project for McEwen Inc., and that will happen in the first quarter of 2026. So that is the Canadian Gold Corp story. Inventus is another pick of mine, and they announced that they recovered 427 ounces of gold and demonstrate positive economics from the 007 North bulk sample at Pardo. So their Pardo project is wholly owned. It's in Sudbury, Ontario, 65 kilometers northeast of Sudbury, Ontario. The highlights are a total of 427 ounces recovered from 4,674 dry tons in the bulk sample for a reconciled head grade of 3.04 grams per ton of gold and a metallurgical recovery of 94%. So, at today's price, that's like $450 per ton of rock. And they get most of it because it's free gold. The cost of the bulk sample was approximately 1.2 million Canadian dollars, and the sale of the recoverable ounces was Canadian 2.35 million, representing a 96% return over the cost. Results from the pending phase two drill holes with drilling ongoing until the Christmas holidays are pending. Anticipated processing of an additional 10,000 ton bulk sample at the end of January. So, folks, what really stands out to me is that when you take a bulk sample, that is not the most uh, cheapest way to get rock out of the ground. You're basically doing it for testing purposes. And most of the time, when you do that, it's kind of a dollar for dollar or dollar for 80 cent or dollar for 30 cent kind of endeavor. You spend a dollar and you get less than that. But because this was so easy to extract and that they could use toll milling at McEwen Inc.'s facility, um, although it's not an optimized cost basis, they still made almost double their money on this. That is very rare for a bulk sample, and I think it's great stuff. And they had more details. They give you more details about what they're doing. There's a quote from their CEO Wesley Weimark, who's or sorry, president and head of exploration. He commented, and I quote, "The 007 North Bulk sample is another strong step forward for Pardo and demonstrates the economic potential of our near surface gold mineralization. With a $4,000 gold price and 3 grams per ton of gold material, the margins look good. With phase two drilling underway and results in the pipeline, we expect a steady flow of news as we await processing of the next 10,000-ton bulk sample anticipated at the end of January 2026." So they're really going at it in an interesting way. This is what you call a uh, the it's a paleoplacer or an they talk about that's the Pardo project. It's basically what you also call a conglomerate system. And in these conglomerate beds, you can kind of think like the bottom of a lake, if you will. They can be very big lake bottoms of lakes. One of the greatest mines ever is the conglomerate Wet Witwatersrand mine in Africa, South Africa. And so these are not easy to find, but what's exciting about this one is that it comes right to surface. And like I said, you're looking at about 450 ton a dollar a ton rock there that you can basically dig it out and start sending it off for processing. And even in a bulk sampling kind of scenario, they made significant money. So that's an interesting story. Inventus, have a look at them. All right, the final company today is Quimbaya Gold. Confirms, where is it? Oh, yeah. Confirms discovery of two mineralized vein structures at the Tahami South in Colombia. Mineralization intersected in 8 out of 9 holes at Tahami South, directly adjacent to Aris Mining's producing operations in the Segovia Gold District. Aris Mining has been a fantastic pick in my reports, and the driver of that is their cash-making machine of a mine at Segovia, very high margin mine that they're doing fantastic with. And Tahami South is right beside that great mine. And so that I just want to put that into context. They discovered two mineralized vein systems at their 100% owned Tahami South project in the Segovia Remedios Gold District of Antioquia in Colombia. Ongoing drilling program identified vein systems that include the previously targeted vein S and vein V, confirming the presence of mineralization consistent with quartz vein systems mined regionally. These results confirm the continuation of the Segovia district's geological architecture onto Quimbaya's ground, a core thesis of the company's strategy. Alexandre Boivin, who is the CEO, he stated, and I quote, "This is a milestone event for Quimbaya. These first vein discoveries validate our thesis and represent a turning point as we move from land assembly into value creation through the drill bit." They are not just promising results, they are proof that we are on to a significant mineralized system with grades, geometry, and geology that defines Colombia's most productive district. Then they give you the highlights. Several veins intersected across multiple drill platforms. Mineralization intersected in 8 out of 9 drill holes, demonstrating strong structural continuity and robust targeting accuracy in the inaugural Phase 1 program. The drilling is ongoing with over 4,000 meters completed to date. The program has been extended beyond its initial scope in response to encouraging early results. Two distinct vein structures system, S&V, discovered, confirming Segovia-style mineral continuity onto Quimbaya's ground. Mineralization comprises quartz, barite, carbonate veining with sulfide assemblage, located adjacent to one of Colombia's largest gold producers within a proven district scaled corridor. Ricardo Sierra, he's the VP Exploration, he stated, and I quote, "These intercepts confirm that we are tapping into the same geological architecture that has made the Segovia district one of the most prolific gold producers in Latin America. We see clear continuity in structure, mineralogy, grade, and believe we are only beginning to uncover the full potential at Tahami South." They give you more details. My computer is acting slow, or their website is acting slow. Okay, so here you see some of the vein structures that they're drilling into. There's been a lot of historical mining. Down here is the southwestern corner of their claims, and then over here is where Segovia is, and these veins, these structures, they continue throughout the Tahami South project and over onto Segovia's mine as well. They show you some of the quartz with the sulfides in it here. I wish this was happening. Oh, there's some more quartz. It almost looks like there could be some amethyst in there as well, which are important in these epithermal vein systems. It looks like they're getting some veinlets, quartz veinlets that suggest to me that they might still just be at the top of the system. But you're seeing some really great stuff in here which suggests to me, the texture suggests to me that this could be a long-lived boiling system in this epithermal environment. Really good stuff to be looking for. Some more veinlets of quartz, a bit thicker amount of quartz, more veinlets, some sulfide association with that. I I don't know what they classified it as. It certainly doesn't seem, it's not a high sulfidation, might be a medium sulfidation, not a low sulfidation, but more sulfides, more quartz, really interesting looking core from that early drilling. Now, keep in mind that it's early drilling and they really got to get underneath this and get a long strike and find where they hit the guts of the system or the boiling zone of the system. But I'm seeing some textures in there that get me really excited, especially this one where you see what could be some amethyst in there as well. And but good boiling textures, suggesting multi phased event at the project here as well. Be great to see some more drilling on that project, and they're doing more of that. They've done a lot of great work to identify the structures, identify where there was historical mining, And that's very, you can basically say the same thing about the Segovia project, which is over here. And, this one here is really interesting because you've got two structures coming together. That right there is a perfect place to be looking for rock preparation of the veining. They cut across two structures here. That's really interesting. They got the extension here. Yeah, really good project, and they're getting great results from the early parts of it. And this is just one of their projects. Looks like they might have a porphyry on on another project called Tahame Center, I think. Got to check that out. Don't quote me on that. All right, folks, that's the show for today. As always, I'm an idea generator, nothing more. I don't make buying or selling recommendations. I use my 32 years of experience in the mining business, having been mentored by very talented geologists, geophysicists, geochemists, plus people in the capital markets to filter for you and help you with your homework. You're also got to speak with your financial advisors before making any investment decisions. And I always close my show by saying, do your homework, be a well-informed investor. Those are the most successful investors in mining and in other sectors as well. So, do that homework. Try to understand as much as you can about the companies that you're investing in and why you own them. On that note, have a great day, and we will talk to you soon.